old are you? I mean, you don't have to tell me.
I'm 38.
Oh my, beautiful age. That's fabulous. Love it, love it, love it. You don't look a day over 29, but
Okay,
you look
can
fantastic.
you say that a little louder for the people back?
She doesn't look a day over 29. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
That's just
so
so
much.
shows that you are a good person when you don't, you know,
Oh,
right? 'Cause that's what it is. That's what it is.
it's skincare.
That too. That could be. Yes.
Yes, that's definitely a part of it. So we're just kikiing, but I want to welcome Flor Blake to the show. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, we were just saying, so today is my birthday, and Flor's like, why are you talking to me today? I'm like, because you're the gift. You're the gift. I'm so excited to speak with you and get into you have an incredible story and you have an incredible resume. And I'll kind of like I'll read off your bio in a second, but thank you again for being here. And where are you calling in from?
I am in Puerto Rico right now. So yeah, so I usually divide my time between Denver and Puerto Rico, but when it's winter, like it is right now in Denver, Colorado, I like to be in Puerto Rico to like get away from the snow.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
I'm in upstate New York. I certainly wish I was in Puerto Rico right now. I'm hoping to be in Puerto Rico next month, or no, in January
Oh
for
yeah, it's almost there.
yes, I can't wait. But I wish I could spend all of winter there, not
Yeah.
just like a few days, you know?
Mhm, mhm, mhm. I get it. I get it. Yes, yes, yes. It's actually it's fabulous. It is really warm right now outside, so I have an AC blasting on this side of my face. So which is nice as well, but it's like we're never completely satisfied, right? So now I have the AC and now it's too cold. If I move back, it's like, no, I don't feel the AC, so now I need to be in it anyway. But let's come back to this wonderful interview.
I understand. I very much empathize that air conditioning temperature woes. I appreciate that. So I'm gonna tell the people who you are. I'm gonna brag on you a little bit. But as before we kind of kick into the jams here, so Miss Flor Blake is a celebrity, commercial, and personal branding photographer with a style consisting of creative, bold, dynamic imagery. Flor knows everybody is gorgeous and is on a mission to help you connect and embrace your inner badass and conquer your world. She has made striking portraits of, are you ready? Are you ready for this? Michelle Obama. Have you heard of her? The First Lady. Okay. Gloria Estefan. My friend Wesley is the biggest Gloria Estefan fan in the whole wide world. So I'm sure he'll be so excited. I'll probably have to ask you a Gloria question just for him. She shot Octavia Spencer, Gloria Steinem, Rigoberta Menchú Tum.
That was perfect. I'm so proud of you. That was perfect. She's a Nobel laureate, actually, so she's a big deal. Yes, yes, yes. It's amazing.
Flor only deals with big deals. Okay. She only works with the big deals. Okay. And wait, I'm not done. I'm not done. Okay. So she's worked with Misty Copeland and many more beautiful faces. Some of her clients include Shea Company, the Wall Street Journal, the City of Denver, Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains, for 5280 Magazine, New York Women in Film and Television. It goes on and on. She's been seen in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, Buzzfeed, the Photographic Journal, 5280 Magazine, El Nuevo Día, the Denver Post, ColoradoBiz Magazine, and so much more. There's a lot more to your bio, but I'm just going to get into questions. Flor, I love it. I love it. This is a really impressive resume that you have. And before we get into all my Gloria Estefan questions and what it's like to shoot these incredible personalities, these incredible women, I want to go back. I want to hear about maybe like in your young life, like when you were a kid, what were the kind of like, were there any clues back then as to like maybe this was like your avenue of like getting into photography? Like who were you as a kid?
I was an all over the place kid. So I had a lot of energy and I was very creative. I don't know if necessarily I knew that I was going to become a photographer when I was little. I just knew I liked pictures. And one of the stories that I like to tell is that actually have not ever seen a photo of my dad as a kid. Actually, the youngest I've seen him, he was probably 18 or 19, and it's a picture of him like graduating from high school. And recently, one of my uncles on earth a picture of my mom's side of the family when they were kids, because apparently my grandma was at the hospital and she had been at the hospital for a while, and she missed her kids and they couldn't take them, so they arranged for like a family photo with my grandpa and the 5 kids, and my mom's like 6 in this picture. And this is less than a year ago that they found this picture, and now it's one of my most precious possessions, because I think that's one of the reasons why I decided to become a photographer, because I feel like we need to exist in pictures. And I love how everybody I feel like people take for granted that they can compare their baby pictures to their parents' baby pictures, and I didn't get that. And and it's I'm not saying it in like oh whoa it's me kind of way, but it's just like appreciate that you have that, because it's really it's amazing, and it's such a beautiful gift to have, and not everybody gets to have that. So I feel like that's one of the reasons why I became a photographer. And I was a rambunctious kids. I was like a like taught myself how to ride a bike. Well, I think my dad had a little bit to do with it, but I was like climbing trees and just like being very curious about everything, and I wanted to do everything everywhere all at once. And of course you can do that. But in my mind I had superpowers, and I wanted to do it all.
Oh, I love that. I appreciate what you said about photographs. Like it is a privilege. I mean, it's something I think is quite foreign now, right? Like I have literally thousands of photos on my phone, but generations past, not everyone could afford a camera, or it just wasn't, I don't know, just a part of your family life or whatnot. And so I really appreciate that. I helped my dad move over the summer. And so I've been going through photographs and stuff. And it is a privilege, like to have these memories and stuff, and being able to look back, and appreciate the family history and stuff, and being able to document that, which some families don't have, right? So that's really beautiful. And it seems to me like coming from that place of like not having photos of like your father as a child, what did he look like? What did his world look like? Or, photographic evidence of a lot of like family members' lives and stuff. I'm sure that makes it so much more precious to you, right? In terms of the value of photography in people's lives, right? And so, okay. And then you said you want to do everything all the time. And like, you felt like you had superpowers. Like, I'd love to dig into this, because I think that especially with creatives, there's a lot of clues when we were children, because we were free, right? And like our imagination could run wild, and we didn't have to worry about bills and shit yet. So like, what were like, some interest there? What were your superpowers?
Well, I really thought that I had like I don't know, like supervision, which like not as supervisor, but like supervision.
Yeah.
I just said it really fast and it sounded like that. And because okay, so this is gonna sound really funny. But when you stare at a spot for a while, like you see like these purple dots that come up, and I'm like, ooh, I mean, I was like 6 or 7, right? So in my mind, I'm like, I was sure that had some sort of power, and I was probably just like messing my eyes up. But that's like in my mind, that was something that I was doing. And I also, I love that you said that we were free, because we so were, and we don't realize that we can do something until somebody tells us that we can't, right? So I remember being in a group, I don't know, in a church group at some point, and they needed somebody to draw, and I raised my hand and I was like, yes, I can do that. And I started drawing hands, and then I saw somebody that really could draw, like for real, and I'm like, oh, my hand looks very different. But at the beginning, I'm like, yes, I can do this. And, and it was funny because I put like red nail polish on the hand of the woman that I was drawing. And they're like, oh, was she stylish? And I'm like, yes, she is. And look, in my mind, I could do everything, and nobody could tell me that I couldn't. So yeah, being free, and also like ignorance is bliss, right? Because nobody could tell me that I couldn't do anything. And that was a lot of fun for a while. And I feel like sometimes we need to, whenever we are in that spot that we're not thinking that we are capable of doing something, just reconnect with your fearless child, and you're gonna get through it pretty quickly.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. I think myself as a creative, my mission as an adult is to reclaim as much as I can that childlike ability of like daydreaming and imagination and freedom. I was with a friend a few months ago, and she has, how old is he now? He's 2. No, he's 3. He's 3 now. And we went to the beach, and he was naked, and just like running around and swimming in the water and stuff. And it was lovely. And I just like, I loved how free he was, like, and realizing as an adult, like, oh, I have so much shame about like this part of my body and that, and there's so much mental weight that I put on, body stuff. And like, to watch him was so inspiring, you know what I mean? And inspired me to like run around with him and swim and like care a little less. But yeah, I think that's so, I definitely want to circle back to this when we get into your career as a photographer. Being able to tap into that, right, is so important for creativity. And that's when the ideas flow, right? Is when we're not feeling restricted or feeling like woulda, coulda, shoulda, I need to be doing something productive or whatever. Or that it can be both, like being creative and working on your artwork, or daydreaming is actually quite productive, right? Because that's the time we can kind of fill up that well again, right?
Oh, I love that. Yes, filling up that well of creativity. I have a friend that said to me, you have to feed your creativity, and you do that by, you know, looking at magazines, watching movies that you love, and then just like staying still, which is daydreaming, right? Because then everything comes to you. It's like daydreaming is a form of meditation, right? So absolutely. I love that. Fill up that well of creativity. We need it. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So you had supervision as a child. So talk to me about when you're a bit older, did you go to school? Did you study photography in school?
I went to college for advertising. So that was my major, the arts in advertising. And as part of the degree, you have to take a couple of photography classes. I wasn't super inspired though when I took the classes. And I was excited to take the classes of photography because I'm like, oh, finally I'm gonna be able to like have a Korea camera in my hands. That I ended up like borrowing an uncle's camera, and that's how I took my class. It wasn't until many, many more years ago that I like had my own camera. And I mean, like after that. And I remember being really disappointed that the professor that I had, I hope he's not listening, but he wasn't very inspiring. He was very technical. And I'm a big vision person. I'm like, and I like, how do I do this? How can I get this? And he was very restrictive in that sense. And it also wasn't, there are professors that teach because they love teaching, and there are professors that teach because there was no one else to fill the hole. And I feel that he very much was the latter, right? That he didn't necessarily care about that. And so that sort of like drained the passion out of like it was more like a curiosity in that moment, right? So I wasn't interested anymore. And so I just finished my degree and like went on and did a bunch of other things before I reconnected with photography again.
Talk to me about that. What was that reconnection?
Blessings in disguise, right? So I worked at a publicity agency in New York for a while. And so after I was done with college in Puerto Rico, I moved to New York, and I did a bunch of things in New York. But one of the like my the job that I was there the longest was I was an assistant and then an account manager for a publicity. And we did publicity for DVDs, but it was like a straight to DVD movies, but it was most like indie films. That's what it was. And there was, I mean, English is my second language, and I don't want to sound like back then. I knew English and I wasn't necessarily a strong writer. And so at some point, there's a lot of writing that happens when you work in advertising and when you work in publicity. And I was let go. And the funny thing is that I was let go in March, and back in January, I'm like, I'm not happy at this job. I don't feel like I'm shining. I don't feel like my talents are being taken advantage of. And so I'm gonna resign in March. That's like my plan was to resign on March 31st. And I got let go on March 1st of that year. And it was great because my boss, she was like, the same thing that I'm telling you, like I wasn't shining and she wanted more for me and I wanted more for myself. And so the best way that she could do that was letting me go. And she gave me a little bit of a severance package, which was fabulous. Because I feel like if I would have resigned, I wouldn't have gotten that. And so it was like, so what do I do now? Because I was sure that I was just gonna keep climbing the corporate ladder and get to be an executive at an agency, and that was gonna be my life. And then at that moment, I had, at the beginning, I was like, I was hurt because I was never fired before, and I was like 27 years old, and I'm like, I've been fired? What? But after I got over it, I'm like, okay, so I have all this time. What am I gonna do? And so I started working as a bartender at the LaGuardia airport, and I had the shift at 8 a.m. Like from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. You'd be surprised how many people were waiting for me to like be ready.
People at the airport are drinking at 8 a.m.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
Yes. So they're like, it's 7:45. Why aren't you ready? And I'm like, oh my God, like, dude, it's 7:45 in the morning. Are you listening to yourself? Anyway, so I was done at 2, between 1:30 and 2. And then I had all of this time because it wasn't even like there were coworkers that got there at 5 a.m. And so by the time that they left at 2, they were like super exhausted, right? Because they started, but I wasn't, because I started I got there at 7:30, got ready, and then at 8 I opened, and by 1:30 I was out. So I had all of this time, and then all of that time gave me the opportunity to really think through what I wanted to do. And I remember you mentioned the move that you did with your dad recently, and I think going through my stuff, because I'm like, well, I have all this time, I'm gonna go through my stuff, and I was planning on moving as well. I found some brochures of like photography courses that I wanted to take, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should connect with, maybe I should. And then I started like looking what was available in New York, and I found a course that was available, and I signed up, and it was the best thing that I ever did, because I remember 2 years before that I wanted to do the master's in photography, but they told me that it was going to be $100,000, and I'm like, if I want to be a photographer, I'll figure out a way to do it without paying $100,000, right? But then life happened, and then I went to this job, and then I got let go, and then I reconnected, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna do it now because I have all this time. I have time to do the assignments, and I've never looked back. So it turns out that the instructor that was teaching the class that I was taking went to the school that told me that it was $100,000 to do the master's in photography. And I'm like, well, I got the education, the $100,000 education without, literally, like, that happened. It's funny how things manifest without you. And of course, he didn't teach me like everything that he got taught at the, at the university that I wanted to go, but it was great, and it was enough validation that he was really great at teaching me how to see, and like in identifying, like, really when I had taken a great photo, and told me that I was talented, which for a creative, it's a big deal for us for people to recognize our talent, because sometimes we're not believing that we do have, and it was the first time in like probably 8-9 years that I had reconnected with photography, and to be told that I was talented, that like to keep cultivating it and keep developing my talent, I feel like that was key to be where I am right now, right? Because it's like, don't give up. You were told that you were talented, but I'm a really talented person. And after I started photographing celebrities and stuff, I found him. I found him on LinkedIn, and I sent him an email, and it was like a thank you note for being kind, and for and for encouraging me to keep going, because I feel like as a teacher or as an instructor, people don't necessarily know where people end up because people leave. And like, if I ever teach a class, I would love for people to like come back to me, and years later. It's like, especially if you feel like you've had some success thanks to whatever I taught you, and just find out where they are right now, and see how I can keep supporting them, because, or just have the satisfaction that they're doing well. And so I found him, I sent him that email, because I still remember him really kindly, like with a lot of love, because he was the first one to say, of course, my wife used to tell me that I was talented, but I didn't believe her because she loves me, right? So when somebody like him did, I believe him, and I went with it, and here we are today.
Yes, I think it's really helpful. Yeah, to just get a little bit of validation, especially when you're early on, goes so far. So I had a similar situation, to like a little quick story about, so I went to art school in New York, and I paid a lot of money to go to art school in New York. But before that, I went to community college, and I studied graphic design. My background is in graphic design. And I had a teacher there. She was a mentor. And I was getting ready to leave that community college and just go to literally the college down the street, which is a great school. But I never considered anything else, because I was just like, I know they'll take my credit. They have a good program. It's across the street. And she asked me, she was like, what are your plans after you graduate? And I said, well, I'm going to go to the school across the street. And she's like, did you ever consider going anywhere else? Like, like to art school in like Chicago or Savannah or New York. And I said, Marge, don't fuck with me. I know it's your job to inspire the kids and everything, and encourage them. But do you really think I'm good enough to get into a school in New York? Because that's all I heard. I heard New York. It was like, ding. And she said, yes. And in that moment, I knew I was moving to New York. I've never had that confidence before or since. But in that moment, I was like, I'm moving to New York, and I'm going to go to art school. And that's exactly what happened. And so it was like that encouragement, especially early on, just saying, yes, I do think that you can get into school, or having good mentors, having good teachers, is so important. And she found me, I was included in some like women in design or something. And she saw it. She saw like my profile. and all my accomplishments in my career. And she reached out and she's like, you seem like you're doing really great. And we reconnected. And I love sharing that story. I've shared it a million times. I'll share it a million more, because her saying, yes, I believe in you, changed my whole entire life. Right. And it sounds like the same with you and this teacher. And it's so great, to circle back. And I think too, like sharing that gratitude, you know what I mean? Just having that moment is so important. And I think no matter where like creatives are, it's so important to, like, in the beginning, for sure, having people around you that are supportive, mentors or whatever, but all along the way, like having that support and being around people who are like, yeah, like supporting you. They're into the vision, no matter how lofty it may seem or whatnot. That, I don't have time for the haters, like I don't have, like there's people, I love them or whatever. But they like to poo-poo my big dreams. And it's like, I have to kind of step away from that, because I'm building something here. And it may be silly and crazy to you, but I have to keep my eye on the prize, right? And so, and again, it's just like a little bit of support goes a long way, right? So that support, that those seeds were planted with that teacher, and you've really certainly flourished. So okay, so like you're taking this class, like you're getting your feet wet into photography and stuff. Now what? Like where do you go from there? Like, did you start doing photography on your own?
I did. So I did start doing photography on my own as a hobby. I didn't necessarily think that I was able to feed myself right with photography. Um, However, I had like as I was finishing up the course, the photography course, we decided to move to Colorado, and we decided to move to Denver. My now wife got a job there, and I remember after we moved to Denver and all that, we went to lunch with her boss. I remember thinking, I'm not gonna do here what I did in New York, which it was doubting myself, right? Like if I want to do something, I'm not gonna wait. And then I think I went back to that same restaurant, and there was a magazine that it was a photography magazine, and it was called, it doesn't exist anymore, but it was called the Photo Martini Club, and it was like these fun people that chose a theme and did exhibits, and everybody like shot around the same thing, and it was really great to see how everybody interpreted the theme, even like with the color green, like how the people did that. And so I remember seeing the magazine, I'm like, well, this is a sign that I need to continue doing this. And so I joined the club, and I did and I did it for like a year. We did a bunch of exhibits. I made all of my friends and my new friends go to my exhibits, so that was a lot of fun. And what happened was that that was 09, like 08, right? And that's when um the recession hit. And so in 09, when the recession really settled and was here to stay, I was working at a nonprofit organization as an administrative assistant for two departments, and one of them was the communications department. And I remember telling them, well, I've been doing photography for a while. You all been to my exhibits. I know that you can't afford to hire the event photographer that you hire all the time. Maybe I can. They do this big event every year, and I'm like, maybe I can do the pictures. And if you like it, then I'll keep doing it. If you don't like it, we can continue hiring the guy. No hard feelings. I just want the chance, if that's okay. And they said, well, that's gonna save us money. So let's do it. And they never hire the events photographer ever again. I ended up working there for 13 years, and in those 13 years they they created a magazine that I did 90% of the photography for the magazine. Then we changed sort of like administration. So one of my bosses left and I got a new boss, and that person loved the magazine idea and said, okay, so now our inspiration is gonna be Vanity Fair, and we're gonna do it like every shoot is gonna be a production. And I got super excited because then I got like real equipment. They bought me another camera because I was using my camera the whole time, right? So they bought lights and stuff, and we really prepped every shoot, and every shoot was a production. And so everybody was really excited, and they like all of the donors, because we were photographing donors, and we were photographing grantees and the people that were the beneficiaries of the grants of the money that the donors gave. And whenever we arrived to the to do a new shoot, like the donors would say, oh my god, the charm squad is here, because then so it was funny because it was me, and it was the communications assistant, and he would like film on his phone to like for social media. And there was a writer that came with us as well. And it became a lot of fun, and it was really great. And we put out this magazine 2-3 times a year. And so for our donors, it was like a big deal to be like on the cover of the magazine. And it was a big deal for them to get photographed by me, because like, if like, is Flor not coming? Like if I was sick or something, they're like, no, we'll wait for Flor. So that was really cool and really fun to see. And so doing that, it was like a really good school for like a really good workshop for developing my style and interacting with every type of person, from billionaires to people that didn't have homes, and everybody in between. And really thinking on your feet, because sometimes like we get to a place and we think that we're gonna have something, and then we don't. And then just thinking and developing that audacity to just like, well, maybe we should do this instead. And becoming more and more ambitious with the type of photos that we wanted to create, you know. And also thinking we're a nonprofit, so we can go too crazy, with cost and with the donors, because I'm not gonna, for more than I want people jumping from somewhere to another, they're not gonna do it, because they're old people that can really do that, right? So but it was really fun to just even bring up the idea. So that's how that got developed.
Couple things I want to underline there.
Yes.
First of all, you went to shoot your shot. You put your hat in the ring. You raised your hand and you said, I could do this, and I'm cheaper, and I'm here already. And I really love that. Like, I think fortune favors the bold, or whatever that saying is like, I think that is super valuable, to be proactive in your career, in what you want, and asking for what you want. And something I talk a lot about, like in my newsletters is whatnot, is like, especially sometimes with females, is this idea of like the tiara syndrome. And Sheryl Sandberg writes about this in Lean In, where it's this, I think, kind of like underlying belief that especially women have, that like, if we are good and we're well behaved and we're polite and everybody likes us, we will be gifted a promotion, or gifted the things that we want, gifted a raise, gifted yada yada yada, but don't ask for it, right? Because then, I don't know, you're like ambitious or something. So like I really love that like you were like, hello, like, I'm a photographer, I'm right here, you know what I mean? I'm in-house, I'm going to save you a whole bunch of money, and I'm going to create an unforgettable experience for everybody here, and they're going to want to be on the Flor show. Like, they're going to, oh, Flor's not here, I'll wait. I really love that you made yourself super valuable. There was one other thing that I wanted to highlight too, is the scrappiness of a nonprofit, right? And the first design firm that I was with, like we worked with a lot of nonprofits. So there was no budget for anything, AKA I had to do everything. I had to make the illustrations. I had to make the icons. Maybe I did like little scrappy photo shoots in our, in our design office and whatnot, because there was no money. And at the time I was kind of like, like, oh, I wish, I worked for McCann or like a big advertising agency where I had boatloads of money for production and this and that. And that was to come. But there is something about being scrappy, right? And getting creative. And like, how can we make extraordinary content or photography or whatever with what we have here or within this like super tight budget? And it sounds like you did that. Like you really made this extraordinary experience in photography that, that people love to, take in and work with you and whatnot. I think that's really incredible. And so tell me a bit about like, so where you're at now. So you work for yourself, you have your own company, Flor Blake Photography. Yes. Okay. So you were at this nonprofit and then like you're shooting Michelle Obama and Gloria Estefan and Octavia Spencer. How did all that happen?
Well, the thing about all of these nonprofits and all of these places that I worked at is that I highly encourage everybody that's listening to develop and cultivate and nurture your relationships. This is a big deal. Like I literally say, my wife loves to quote me, like, we don't know where our next gig is going to come from. Literally, I never know where my next gig is going to come from. And not to say that I'm not proactive and I send out my newsletters. I do all of the things that all of the business things that we're supposed to do. And I reach out, et cetera, et cetera. However, my relationships are my pot of gold because every person that I work with, I either in New York, either anywhere, like here in Puerto Rico, and in Denver, every person that I directly work with, I keep in relationship with. I have them on Facebook. If I know their birthday, I'm sending it a happy birthday because some people are not on Facebook, but there are apps that put birthdays on your calendar. Sometimes I just remember birthdays because I'm that person. And I take people out to lunch. I take people out for coffee. I really, truly, honestly care about the people in my life. And when I see you, you are my whole world. Like I want to know everything that's happening. And that's really valuable. And those people, besides knowing that I care about them, they also know that I'm talented, right? And there's just owning your shit, right? Because you mentioned the Sheryl Sandberg and also asking for stuff. Also, we need to like being I'm Dominican and I also like finished growing up in Puerto Rico, but there's a funny thing about Dominicans that we're like humble, but not really. And we say, oh, because we're so talented. And they're like, I'm so talented. Not really. And everybody just looks at me like, I don't know, Flor. I think you're saying it for real and we're just going to take it as is. And I'm like, okay. But just being aware that sharing also what you're doing, because they're always going to ask you, so what are you up to, like what's your favorite picture that you've taken lately? And because we all love to talk about what we do, right? So because I work I used to work with a lot of writers, with a lot of people that work in communications, and I am really interested in what they're doing because nobody asks. Like only other entrepreneurs are ask other entrepreneurs how they're doing, because most people, I mean, this is gonna sound bad, but a lot of people don't care. Like your immediate friends don't necessarily care about what you do because it's your job, right? But when you meet up with another entrepreneur or with another creative, we are all so excited for real to like learn about what you're doing, how you're doing it, like how did you accomplish that last project? That was so cool. Tell me more. So there's also the tell me more, right? And like really developing your relationships, believing in your talent, communicating that that you're available for jobs. And again, asking, like I am available. I would love to work with you when the time is right. The story about the Michelle Obama shoot was that I used to work with the CEO of an organization that she left the place that I worked at, and she went to become a CEO for the other foundation. We went to lunch, and it happened that Misty Copeland was going to be. Misty Copeland is the first prima ballerina of the American Ballet that was Black, and I love her story. And she was coming, and I'm like, oh my God, can I have like 3 minutes with her? I always say 15, but now it's really just give me 3 minutes and I will do an amazing portrait of them. And they're like, it's not really in their contract. So somehow, somewhere, that person connected with somebody else that was going with a paper. And so they called me to be the photographer for the story that they were writing about Misty. And so I got to photograph Misty, right? So that was one of those things. So communicate, talk to people, ask for what you want, ask for what you need. And then the next year, guess who the person that they were bringing was? It was Michelle Obama. And the first person that this CEO called was me. She's like, I need somebody that's fast. We're going to bring in Michelle. We're going to photograph her with some donors. Maybe there'll be time for you to take a picture. We don't know, but are you interested? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course I'm like, I'm super interested. And then obviously, like, I had to sign an NDA. Like, I couldn't talk about it until like after, right? And so I was promoting the shit out of this event so people will go, because Michelle was coming. It was also the first time that Michelle was speaking at an event after the White House, right? So a big deal. And then I did the photo. I got to photograph her with like everybody, and then I got to do a photo of her by herself. She asked me if I wanted to be in a photo with her because the photographer never gets a photo. I jumped, and I'm like, this is when I'm grateful. I usually don't like tripods, right? In general, like as a photographer, I like to be free. But that day I'm like, nothing's going wrong today. I'm putting this camera on this tripod. And when she said, do you want a picture with me? I jumped, I hugged her, she hugged me back. And somebody that was there, that the focus was already locked, and I'm gonna just press the button. And there's like 400 pictures of the same picture of us. And I'm like, oh, we got our photo shoot together. So all that is, yeah, so that's how that happened, right? But it was because my relationships are I get constantly developed, right? Like all of the time. And I genuinely care about you, and I genuinely care about like this woman. This CEO has a super talented daughter that's been featuring Vogue and like everywhere. She's a super talented painter. So, and I always ask her about her daughter, even though I get the bulletins from from the New York Times and I see what her daughter's doing, but I like to hear it from her because parents love to talk about their kids, and I love to hear about how well she's doing because she's another very talented woman that's doing amazing things in this world. And so just develop your relationships, and obviously be kind, be good, respect people, respect their time, because that's how you're gonna get called back, right? Every time.
Incredible. I love that. And I second that, community and networking and your relationships are wildly important, and I think about the first job that I had out of college, which was, what year is it? I mean, 13 years ago or so. I'm still in contact with my team, and they have opened many doors for me, I've had incredible, opportunities at big tech companies. I worked at the New York Times, with some old coworkers, and so there's incredible opportunities that came out of that. And I love these people, you know what I mean? And And I love being able to catch up and just contact them anytime. Hey, what are you doing? Or congratulations on buying your house, or, you know, having a baby or whatever. And just like, it's so important. And what I love about you, and what I'm gleaning from you, and this is how I would say it, is that you kind of, to me, it seems like you lead energy first, right? And that like you seem like to exude this wonderful energy, and like you're down to have fun and to make the experience, like to enhance the experience with your presence, but also your photography, your professionalism, etc. And there's something about being in for the ride. And that's kind of the vibe that I get from you, is like, you know what I mean? Whether it's with Michelle Obama, or maybe a non-public person that you're shooting or whatever, or maybe like the conditions of a shoot are less than ideal or whatever, like trying to like bring your all to there regardless, is kind of like the vibe that I get. And I really believe, like on an energetic level, on a kind of woo-woo level, you know, that the universe kind of echoes that back, right? And if I come into a situation where I'm feeling like very tight and stressed out, and what can I get out of this situation, I don't get very much, and I certainly don't have a good time, right? And so, and I think relationship building is a part of that too, of like, let me just get to know someone. You know what I mean? Maybe opportunities will come out of it, maybe not. But, you know, and a really simple piece of advice that really I've held on to is not burn bridges. I've had to burn some, you know what I mean? And some I do regret. Not many. I mean, really career-wise so far, kind of like one big one, and I still owe them an apology. I'll be very honest. But otherwise, you know, I've gotten fired, I've gotten laid off, you know what I mean? I've had disagreements, I've been in like conflicts and whatnot, and I've done my best to be respectful, you know, and be kind where I can, and you know, and like really keep my side of the street clean. And I'm so glad, because even you know, like getting fired, I still have a relationship with that boss, you know, and it wasn't personal or whatever. So I really, you know, I appreciate what you were saying about like how important relationships are. And then I just want to ask you, because like I got chills when you mentioned Misty Copeland. Like, I love ballet. I love her. I have a lot of friends who are former ballerinas who are probably going to like, you know, be very excited that to hear that you met her and got to shoot with her. But yeah, I mean, what is it, you know, like, is there times like when you go into a situation where Michelle Obama is there, or Octavia Spencer, or whomever, and you're like, oh my God, I'm freaking out, dude. Like, do you ever like have imposter syndrome where you're like, what the hell am I doing here? And how, if you do, like, how do you kind of get over it and get the job done?
I feel like it is like being an artist and having imposter syndrome like goes hand in hand, right? Especially when you make money doing what you love. Because sometimes we can believe it. Like, I can't believe that people pay me to photograph them and I would do this for free. Like, and there's a quote from the astrologer that I can't remember his name right now, but he's like, find something that you would do for free and then make that your life. And like, you will wake up every day being very happy. And that's how you're going to create success for yourself, or something like that. I'll find the actual quote and I'll send it to you so you can put it in the show notes. And yes, so the way I deal with it is to remind myself that I'm awesome, that I know what I'm doing. There's always the worry that the like the technical stuff, that things are not gonna work, like the equipment's not gonna shoot, like fire when it needs to fire, which has happened to me, and you just have to play it like, oh, this, I'm just doing a test. It's which how there are only so many tests that you can do, right? Especially when you're photographing somebody like an A-lister, right? Um, so I just try to stay calm. I do have like if the imposter syndromes attacks really badly, I do have a folder of successes, I like to call it, in my phone, right? That has a bunch of pictures that I love that were really hard to create, and I did it and I made it happen, right? And I'm like, if I have done this and it's worked before, like how many, like it's like a track record of like my successes, and that I can always figure it out, and I always do, right? And sometimes because like that's what it is. Like if we start thinking negatively, and like I can go into a spiral, and then all hell breaks loose and nothing gets done, right? Which has happened, and when that happens, then it's time to like, okay, I'm done, and I'm gonna go to my room and stare at the ceiling for a bit. um because I mean, there are some days that's what you're gonna do, right? But in the days that I can close the door, turn on the AC, and then just like put my blanket over myself and just stare at the ceiling, and in a way meditate, and then figure out what went wrong, and why am I feeling this way. In the days that I can, then I just have to like try to like process my emotions as fast as I can. Maybe take a breather, like maybe 2 5 minutes, go to the bathroom, check my phone, put myself together, tell myself that I'm awesome in the mirror. Like, you got this, you're talented. Um, you've done this a million times. And this is just gonna be a million and one, and you're gonna kill it again. And people are gonna be talking about the experience, because people do love their photos, and I'm excited about it. But what you said, like leading with energy, people love the experience that they have when they work with me, and that's what they talk about, right? And it's like they say that it was breathtaking, that it was mesmerizing, that they've never felt as gorgeous as they have ever felt, or something like that. And so to me, creating that experience that you're gonna leave and you're gonna end up like being the happiest that you've been that week, because you had an interaction with me and you had a photo shoot with me, that's what matters, right? So I need to get into that space that I'm responsible, that my energy and how I come into their room, it's going to directly affect whoever I'm photographing. And that's a really good way to like just process my emotions really quickly and get back to it. Look at my phone, like look at the pretty pictures that I made, and go back and like create something amazing for this person.
Yes, I love that. I also do. I don't have a folder, but maybe I will, or like maybe I'll write down my accomplishments. But I do like when I was a graphic designer, I would go into my portfolio and like, or my website or whatever, and like just looking at my portfolio, I'm like, oh, I've done some stuff. It's pretty cool. Like had some pretty cool clients and did some pretty cool work and won some awards. Like, oh yeah, like I have done really incredible things. And I think it's important, no matter where you're at in your career or your life, or you're just starting out or you're a student, there is so much value, okay? Like in your passion and whatever you've accomplished. And sometimes maybe it's not on paper and it's not like these big stats or numbers or whatever. But it's like maybe a testimonial from a customer that like you made their day, right? Or like your artwork really moved someone and someone gave you a compliment or whatever. Like there is value in no matter where you are in your life and your career, and that you can pull from and say, okay, like I'm worthy of XYZ, or like I give myself permission to like make the ask of like, let me be the photographer, or let me apply for this job, or like let me go out on my own and say like, this is who I am now and this is what I do. I really I love that, because like I think the greatest investment that we can make in our careers and our lives is in ourselves, more than school or training or good clothes or skincare, whatever, right? Like it's to invest. I mean, all of those things are an investment in ourselves, but like the work that we do and the messages that we tell ourselves, that is the greatest, investment. Because if I feel like shit about myself, I'm not showing up. I'm canceling. I'm not going to bring my whole self. I'm not going to be super focused. I'm going to give up before I even try. Right. So I really love your phone full of accomplishments. I should do that as well. I want to talk a little bit about brand photography and kind of like flip the perspective a little bit of like being in front of the camera. So you as a photographer, like I've done photo shoots. Like I used to art direct photo shoots and assist photographers and whatnot, and pull smiles out and like get people animated. And I've also been on the other side too, where like I've had a brand shoot and stuff, and it can be quite intimidating, and sometimes like even just getting on camera, like for podcasts or webinars or whatever, some days I feel fat or ugly, or like I have a zit or something, and there's a story that I tell myself. And again, I think it's common with anyone, but I think especially a lot of women is like, let me whiten my teeth first, or let me lose 10 pounds before I get in front. Like I need to, you know what I mean? Or like, I need a completely new wardrobe before I'm able to do this, or I need to accomplish XYZ to be worthy of like a brand photo shoot, or to be worthy to be in front of the camera. So can you talk to me when you work with clients, like, do you experience these kind of like insecurities, and how do you help them move through it?
I love this question. It is my favorite question because you were born worthy, right? So there's like, let's start there. Like you were born worthy. You are amazing. You are gorgeous, and you deserve everything good that happens to you. With that said, everybody feels that way. And one of the things that I say is, because you're always worthy, you don't have to wait to lose weight, and you don't have to wait to like put Botox to look younger. Like this is the youngest you're going to be. This is the most gorgeous you're going to be. Yes, maybe you lose 10 pounds in like the next month or something, but then capture some other pictures in the next month, right? Like next month, don't wait. Like you never know. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and pictures are too important. And I mean this with like from the bottom of my heart. The pictures that we take of ourselves, the professionals, and the pictures that we take with our phone, it's the only thing that our family is going to have of us when we're not here, right? And it's very, I know it's very dramatic what I'm saying, and I'm like, oh my God, it's just a branding photo. No, you don't know. It can be like you are looking the happiest that you've ever looked, and this is the picture, and you don't even have to like pass on. Like you are just gone. You're gone to another. You're living in another country, and this is the picture that your mom has of you, like that she printed out and has on her desk or at her house, right? Or is the picture that your significant other has on the phone, like right when you open it, like in your lock screen. Because yes, these are pictures that are the pictures that I do are created to convert to your website, to literally bring you more business, and that's amazing. However, it's still you in the picture, right? It's still you looking amazing, looking like your best version. So I tell them that they're gorgeous, but there is also a planning aspect of the type of photos that I do, because I spend the whole day with my clients. It's not like they're gonna show up. It's not an hour photo shoot. So there is a plan that we talk about everything. We talk about fears and concerns. We talk about logistics. We do a brainstorming exercise. We do a visualization session of like everything that could go right and everything that could go wrong. So by the time that we get to the photo shoot, we're good. Like you're ready. Like you've told me about like when you were 4, when you fell and now you have a scar on your knee that it won't go away and you're worried about that. So we've already talked about that. And if I see them, for example, like, because this happened, like I had a client that she had a big scar. She had a life-saving surgery when she was 17. And so she has a big scar on her right leg, I think it is. And she was very concerned about that. And I told her, don't worry, now that you've talked about that, I'm glad that you're talking about this. We're gonna make sure that when we capture you, because she really wanted to wear this short dress, and she was really afraid that it was gonna show and that was gonna be bigger than it really was. And I'm talking about a woman who's like 6'2", really slender, built like a supermodel, and she was concerned, like everybody has concerns, right? And we photographed her. She forgot about the scar. I have like a full body shot of her. You can see the scar anywhere. And she was just happy. And she's still like, I can't believe, like, I don't see it. Like, I'm like, and she goes, well, if I zoom in, I'm like, okay, so in the days that people print pictures, how, like, on a printed picture, nobody's gonna zoom in, and nobody that's looking at the pictures, like, unless they want to see your outfit better, that's when you zoom in, right? Like if you're looking at somebody else's picture. So nobody's looking for a scar, nobody's looking for your imperfections. They're just happy to see you, and happy to see the best version of yourself. So there is a planning process, but if it happens during the day, we take time. I love what you did before we started. We took a deep breath and we started. And so we do that. Like we do that as well. We take a minute, we sort of like bless the session, bless the day. And if you in the case, very rare, that you are feeling uncomfortable, that you don't like your hair, because it happens, then we'll stop, we'll take the time, we'll change your hair, and then we'll make it, because that's why we have the hair and makeup person here, right? That we're here to serve you, to make sure that you look the best that you've ever looked and feel the best that you've ever felt in front of the camera. And if you don't like your hair because there's a bump, that actually happened with one of my clients. She's like, we have to fix the bump. And she was like really nervous to even say it, because, we're women and we're like afraid to make people uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh no, that's great. Thank you for telling me, because then I will send you a gallery of pictures with a bump that I wasn't looking at. And the only thing that you can see is that, and we're going to fix it. So we take the time, we fix it. And when they look again, they look at themselves again in the mirror and they like what they see, then we can continue with the shoot and make sure that you're worthy, you're gorgeous, you're amazing, you look amazing, and we're going to create magic.
And I think trust is a huge thing. And again, going back to the relationship with a photographer and their subject, there has to be trust there, right? So I love that you were talking about, like, there's a whole setup, like there's a whole, you know what I mean? It's not like you just show up and we're shooting. You know what I mean? Like, we need to have a connection here, and there needs to be mutual trust, right? Like that the photographer, I'm going to make you look amazing, and you need to feel amazing, and you need to give me everything you got, right? And if you got a little bump in your hair and you're feeling self-conscious of it, you're going to pull back, right? So I really appreciate that. And I think about, I really love a lot of fashion photographers and stuff, and capturing a moment, right? And the beauty of it, and like the, you know what I mean? I'm a huge like photography fan. There's so much magic there, and it's all about like capturing these moments and being really present, right? So it is I think like a very intimate relationship, with a subject and their photographer. Do you have some favorite photographers? I'd love to like nerd out a moment.
Oh my God, yes. So I love have you watched Saturday Night Live, like SNL?
Yeah.
Okay, so their photographer, her name is Mary Ellen Matthews. incredible photographer. She's so creative. It's not afraid of color, it's not afraid of light, it's not afraid of like like now that I'm thinking about it, I love how fearless she is in trying new things and asking so much of her subjects, because you would see these pictures and you're like, how did you get her to do that? It's like, right? So I love Mary Ellen Matthews, obviously. A lot of us in the photography world love Annie Leibovitz. She's kind of like, some people love her, some people don't. I still love her. I really like Mark Seliger as well, and he's amazing. He's a fashion photographer, and I think you love him. And a lot of photographers that I follow, that I which I can give you a list, and we can put them like wedding photographers that I love, because they capture. There's one of them. His name is Jide. He captures people as if they're royalty, right? And it feels like literally like he was born to create these wedding images, and you can feel it in every image. And then there's there's so many that I can keep talking all day about it, and I can send you a list so people can follow these amazing people, because my like I have a photographer that she photographs me here in Puerto Rico. Her name is Joely Rodriguez. She just did the picture that I have. I'm not sure if I sent like which picture I sent you for the podcast, but it's probably one of her pictures, so I love her work as well. So lots of like I love photography in general, but I love photographers that capture sort of like the human in the photo, and that show real emotion. And yes, we are fearless, and I call it my the cheekbones face, like, because I've recently discovered that I have cheekbones, and now I incorporate my cheekbones in every photo. It's so funny.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you. And I'm like, oh, look at me. Anyway, so I say that I recently discovered my cheekbones. It's kind of a joke, but so we can do those fearless photos highlighting our cheekbones. But there's a lot of beauty in really feeling your feelings, and laughing out loud and capturing that and enjoying. There's a picture I love that I took. This client, she's Korean, or half Korean, and she's eating Korean food, and you can see how excited she is of like tasting like every bite. And I'm like, that photo's on my website, because I just love how much she's enjoying herself. So yeah, so picture photographers that capture real emotion, the human in the person, and that also make you look gorgeous, like you really truly were the only person in there with you or with them.
Yeah. I love Richard Avedon. He's probably one of my favorites. So obviously he did like super high fashion, gorgeous. I mean, I think one of the greatest photographers ever, what he did with lines and beautiful, but he also did a lot of more like kind of documentary kind of photography that wasn't like super high fashion and whatever. And really showed the beauty, and even with celebrities too, like really showed their personality and more candid shots and stuff. And they were so beautiful. And I think with photography, like if you're really looking closely, it tells a whole story. And you can tell when someone is holding back and posing, you know what I mean? And trying to show as little as possible. And then you can tell too, and I think that's where a good photographer comes in, is like, can we disarm them, right? Like, can we disarm our subjects and stuff so that they can feel comfortable and get that laugh or that joy of like eating the food or whatever, you know what I mean? And there's such beauty in that, because your real personality shines through. So you don't have to be afraid of it and like be like super, like I do always think about RuPaul saying like chin down, long neck, shoulders back. So I do my little posing or whatever. But just like, yeah, that's something that I love, about great photography. That's something that I really love about Avedon too, is like, like there's beauty in this. I mean, he's such a master of light too, but there's like these incredible candid shots too, or like you see like even on a beautiful model or anyone, like all of the detail of their face, the freckles, the lines, you know what I mean? And all of the things that like we try to blur out on Instagram, but like he really like brings it out and it's just beautiful, right?
Yes.
It's just, you know what I mean? And all those lines and freckles, it tells a story. Okay, I digress. I could talk all day about photography.
Peter Lindbergh, who passed on a few years ago, he's also one that I think you would love his work. He is fantastic at really capturing models raw and as they are, and gorgeous work. Anyway, yes. Just I just wanted to say, oh my God, like Peter Lindbergh, and then because his work lives on, and it's amazing, and just like Avedon, they're fabulous photographers.
Peter Lindbergh, his black and whites are like stunning, amazing. One other one is Herb Ritz. He was really big in the 90s, and I love his photography. It was like I love really high fashion stuff. Like I love Helmut Newton and I love Herb Ritz. And I also, you know what I mean? Like I'm all over the spectrum, but I do really love a lot of fashion photography. And I really love Herb Ritz, like, oh, just everyone looks like surreal, supernatural. And then I also really loved his music videos. Like he did like Love Will Never Do Without You by Janet Jackson, My All with Mariah Carey, and it was just like super glam, high concept, gorgeous, otherworldly. And I always really I loved his work and the fantasy of it. Like this is Herb Ritz is not reality, okay? Not at all. But I love that too, and it like transports you, like to another very glamorous world.
Which is amazing, and that it just speaks to the power and the variety, and the versatility of photography, and like in all its applications, and it can really just like you said, transport you to another to another world. I love the otherworldly. I love that word because it's mesmerizing when you see those photographs, right? And I love black and white photos, and I also love colorful photos, right? Because it's because yes, you can see the person when you're looking at the black and white images, but you can see their world in their environment when the pictures are in color, and you can really appreciate everything that makes that person the person that they are and what they want to be, and like their values and everything. Like you can sort of see it in one color photo as well. I love it.
I love it. Well, Flor, thank you so much. This was so much fun. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Thank you for letting me nerd out about photography with you. And will you share with people, how can people find you and how can people work with you?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for having me. You've been amazing, an amazing host. I love you. You're amazing. Thank you for all your questions. People can find me on my website at florblakePhoto.com. On Instagram, Flor_Blake, and everywhere else, like Facebook, TikTok, everywhere else, I'm Flor Blake, just all one word. And there's a sort of like a short questionnaire on my website. And so I do celebrity, I do personal branding. We spend probably the whole day together, and I also work with nonprofits because I still have they have a soft place in my heart. I don't know if that's how you say it, but like they're in my heart, the nonprofits. And so I work with a lot of nonprofits here in Puerto Rico and in Denver, mostly for like doing personal branding style portraits for them, for their staff. And so if you have a nonprofit, and I do the same with companies as well. So if you have a company that needs to revamp their photos for your employees, for the staff, call me up. I also work with you, and I fly all over the world as well.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you, Flor, so much for joining today. I know that everyone really enjoyed this. This was super amazing. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Hey there. Thank you so much for joining our podcast today. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you would consider liking, subscribing, and even leaving us a comment. This way, it will help us to keep the podcast alive and continue to bring you some really awesome interviews and nuggets of creative wisdom. So thank you again for checking us out. I'll see you next time.